so I can see what time it is. Oh, all right. It's officially 9:30, people. So, all right, let's get started. I was gonna actually real quick before we get started. Can I get a show of hands so I know how to tailor information? Who here plays Kingdom Hearts Union Cross? Okay, how many of those people keep up with the Japanese updates when cutscenes come out? Okay, all right, I got this. Okay, cool. So, welcome to a good panel to find some ingredients where we're going to be talking about a lot of things. Also known as the Kingdom Hearts 3. This is your first and last warning. There are spoilers. There are spoilers for Kingdom Hearts 3. Leave now or forever hold your peace. There will also be minor spoilers for, major spoilers for Tui at the end of the panel. I will give another warning when we reach the Tui spoiler section if you would like to remain here on that. And no one left, very shockingly. And on that note, let's dig right into Kingdom Hearts 3, shall we? Exactly. I was expecting a lot of things from this game. I was not expecting this, but let's not just kid ourselves. It's not just Sora. Everyone effing dies. Everyone, even Naminé, who doesn't even have her own body. All right, think about that for a second. That's just why. All right. So going forward, to help clarify who I'm talking about with the many characters with the same name or the same face, because before this was just Xehanort, and then Riku started multiplying. Because apparently Sora needed more boyfriends. Also, we ship everything. We will refer to almost every character as every other character's boyfriend and or girlfriend. Just so we got. I called him handsome. I know he's not handsome, but like, who wore it better? Heartless wore it better. I'm just saying. All right. We got Xemnas. We got Science Snort. We got Baby Nort, which is different from Chest Nort or Skull Nort. There are two separate Norts. We got Old Nort, otherwise known as Asshole Nort. All right. We got Riku who's possessed. That's not what we're not even here. We got Jimny's Journal, aka Data Riku, aka Dataku. That's a whole thing we're gonna have to get into. All right. We have Repliku and Repli2 because this is what happened. And the fandom is great at naming things. We have actual Riku, and we have Riku, please stop being angsty. Not to be confused with any of the Ansems or Xehanorts. Also, we have actual Ansem, otherwise known as a douchebag. Alright. So, to start things off, Sora was severely depressed through most of the game. It was sad. He did literally get in a robot. There are several moments where this just gets worse. It doesn't get resolved. He's still depressed at the end of the game. Yes, Marluxia?
I would say that he did get into a robot in the toy box.
Yes. Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. He did. He did get into a robot. Yeah. I'm sorry. I apologize if I talk too fast and I get lispy. There are just horrifyingly upsetting moments. One of my favorite examples of this is where they're talking to Yensid and they're like making all the same jokes that they normally do. And like, normally Sora laughs along with the teasing and he's just sitting there with that salty ass look on his face like, I ain't hear about this shit anymore, son. So we got that negative character arc going down for our Sora boy. And I'm prefacing with this just because I reference this a lot later, yes.
So you're saying Sora changed the feel of the gummy strip from smiles to angst?
Oh, well, potentially. I'm going, you're right by the camera, I can hear it. Yes, you over there.
So I think Sora is growing up thanks to showing off like.
Yeah. No, I do talk about that later. I was like, did I forget to talk about that? No, I did not. One last, I'm gonna try to keep going pretty fast here before I have.
I'm just gonna say, Sora finally realized that he's just the butt of the joke and he's just like tired of it, so he's just puts his foot down and like
Yeah.
what's what.
Yeah. Yeah. To clarify, things that were confusing when the game came out that have now been addressed, things that we now have more information on. The power of waking. Nomura's official statement is the power of waking is essentially the power to put sleeping hearts back the way they were. Honestly, when I played the game, I was like, I still don't, like, they keep going on and on and on about the power of waking. It's like, but like, what does it do? Like, what is it, where do you, like, which skill tree gives you power of waking? I'm like, what? Because it's always been so vague, and all we know it's associated with fixing Ventus and potentially the other Wayfinders. This is still an incredibly vague statement, but it is the foundation with which we build further things on. Regardless of what it is, Sora does not use it correctly.
Yes.
This is the crux of Sora dying, essentially, and what brings us to our unfortunate ending of the game. It's just necromancy, Sora. That's not, basically, we have the culmination of the, like, negative character arc with, like, his whole thing, like, don't give up, don't lose hope. So they're just like, fix the thing. And he's like, okay, I guess we're just going to undo death now. And of course, Baby Nort warns there is a high price to pay, and yeah. This gets directly addressed in Ultimania. As Nomura says, like, Nomura's whipping out the word singularity, which is concerning and upsetting to me, personally. And he's like, oh, what? No, it's just like when Sora decided to bring back all his friends, it rewound time a little bit. That's just like normal, guys. Like, why are you freaking out about it? I'm like, Nomura, you can't just say he just rewound time. That's not... It's
a little bit concerning.
It's a little bit concerning. But that is why, because originally when the game first came out, we had no idea, like, they just played the same cutscene twice, basically.
Yeah.
And like half of them acknowledged it, half of them didn't.
Sora stands bites the dust.
Thank you. Yeah, no, the answer that was given was just, oh yeah, no, Sora just casually caused a time paradox by resurrecting people. Don't worry about it.
No problem. That never.
So, for those of you who are not aware of the cell phone game or current updates in the cell phone game, a character named Streletsia was introduced. She dies within like an update of getting introduced because Flower Girls in Square Enix games, yes.
Like 5 quests.
Five
quests in, I think.
It's like only 2 of them
update.
are actual cutscenes, right? Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
literal thing.
Yeah. The nameless star that you speak to in the final world is almost inarguably Streletsia. This is around the internet a lot. Some of you may already know of this, some of you may not. She talks about that there's a person who's going to be really upset about her being missing and gone. That person is almost certainly Lorium, otherwise known as Marluxia.
Hello.
Who's somebody shows up in the cell phone game. If you're not familiar with the cell phone game, Marluxia somebody is apparently a 5,000-year-old Keyblade builder, and that's just a thing that you're going to have to get used to real fast. And of course the pining that she's referring to is the player character of the game, because she basically casually stalked you to try to save you from the apocalypse and then died. Character development. Because we can't have an organization without people stabbing each other in the back. That's just not how it goes. Many people were able to put together pretty easily that the official traitor of what happened here was Isa, basically in the room. Huh? Oh, I thought I heard a person.
I mumbled Moon Boy.
Oh, you mumbled Moon Boy. Yes, Moon Moon. We have the cutscene where Vexen is talking about how, like, yeah, someone is totally helping me who's in, like, the big kid organization of not benched people, Demix. So, like, I have real plans that are serious. And, it's not confirmed too. For a long time I actually thought it was Xemnas, but the secret report pretty much helps confirm that it is in fact Isa. However, we also have the time when Ansem was like, oh, people are betraying the organization. Which he goes on to, even in his death cutscene, he'd be like, yeah, people kept stabbing everyone in the back, and I realized I don't care. That's usually Xemnas' job, but it's fine. And the reason our Moon Boy is betraying the organization, and his reason that he was working with the organization to begin with, is because of Subject X, which is not the next slide. I fucked up. That's okay. We will talk more about that in a minute. Artists formerly known as Key Kids. Again, for those of you not familiar with the cell phone game, all of these people are basically confirmed to be Key Kids. It is what the fandom refers to as the Keyblade, the young Keyblade wielders in the era of the Age of Fairy Tales before the Keyblade War, or after in the case of the Dandelions, but that's fine. So this whole thing is, oh yeah, all y'all just used to be Keyblade wielders and it's fine, and they're all like, what?
The worst part is that Nomura wanted to get Union Cross far enough into its story that we could see Luxord and Demix in the game as Key Kids. They still haven't shown up, not even in the Japanese version.
Yeah, Luxord and Demix's somebodies haven't actually shown up even in the Japanese version of K2X yet, but Marluxia and Larxene's, they're called Laurium. Actually, that's the next slide. Laurium and Elena have been introduced. Laurium is not just a Key Kid, but one of the Union leaders, one of the like, basically he's a Keyblade master, is what that translates to in modern era stuff. He has no idea what's going on. Nomura gave an interview where he very expressly says, like, yeah, no, Laurium didn't remember, or Marluxia didn't remember anything, but he's remembering it as he's fading away. However, the quote with Larxene, when asked if Larxene knew anything, was like, basically, I can't really answer that, but I'm gonna say some words. And in my opinion, whenever Nomura is like, oh well, I'm not going to answer that question, usually is a like, oh, we're on to something. Especially given Larxene's behavior, it's very likely that she knew what was going on during the Keyblade War, about the Keyblade War in the past during her time in the organization. What that means is a theory for another day. How she was able to retain those memories, all of that is all up for speculation. Here we go. Alright, Subject X. Several characters start talking about this in this game. It's a concept introduced in Kingdom Hearts 3. The secret reports talk about it and give a bunch of clues as to the identity. Nomura himself also stated that it's someone the players could figure out if they think about it. It's clearly someone from the cell phone game. Our options are Elena, Larxene, somebody, but based by the age, but I'm pretty sure Ansem would recognize who that is, so no. Skuld, Strelitzia, and Ava. We've talked about Strelitzia. Skuld is another one of the second generation of Union leaders. She's a character in the cell phone game now. Ava is one of the foretellers from the early era of the cell phone game. Basically, you have Ansem looking for this subject who was one of the early subjects on Experiment of the Heart, kept in the castle. It was a girl who also had amnesia like him. Science Nort was like, oh, I might be able to figure out about my memories because of this person. It'll be great. Let's throw them in a dungeon. Because that's how Xehanort works. Lee and Isa kept breaking into the castle being like, it sounds like murder's happening in here. And during these escapades, met this young girl and promised to free her. And it was in one of the attempts to free her that they themselves wound up getting turned into nobodies and joining the organization. They then continued on with the organization in an attempt to infiltrate it and find out more about her, but because Ansem, and presumably Xemnas as well, also were like, I don't know what happened to her. What happened? What's going on? Like, there were no answers to be had. Other parts of the secret reports revealed that it was Brake's fault, because of course it is, because Trash Panda. But the question at hand now is, which one of our lovely ladies could it possibly be? Well, like I said, we definitely know it's not Elena because, again, many of the people involved would clearly recognize her. We know it's not Strelitzia because she's dead. That leaves Scold and Ava, but there was a tenuous statement by Nomura, I cannot find the official source of it, stating that it's definitely not Ava, leaving the only option to be our girl Scold. This is the part where I'm going to point out that Scold's name is a reference to Norse mythology, named after one of the Norns, which are like the Norse equivalent of the Fates in Greek mythology. And specifically the Norn of the future, and is also a Valkyrie. So there's a lot of sketchy, concerning things about this child. And so like on top of that, it's like, oh yeah, she probably was also hanging out with Xehanort before like he had his shit together, by the way, on top of all of that. It's like, oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, Maleficent probably knows more about what's going on than Xehanort at this point. There is an update in the cell phone game where it's revealed that she was traveling back in time. In fact, for those unaware, there is a browser version of the game even before the cell phone game came out. It's relevant because it didn't have the dandelions, and it's considered more like what actually happened in the main timeline with the Keyblade War. And she's in the secret ending of that being like, oh yeah, I won't have to deal with Sora while I'm here, and it's like, that's not how time works, Maleficent. You can't just drop Sora's name. What's going on? This update explains it very clearly, that when she was shivved by Riku that time he was possessed in that one cutscene that we've all seen 5 million times because it was before cutscene skip buttons were invented. Her heart was separated from her body. The rules are you must leave your body behind to travel through time. She goes back in time. You must find a place, you must exist at the location. This is a data replica of the Enchanted Dominion on a loop, a projection from the future of her world and the story of Sleeping Beauty. So she was able to go there. She gets there and she's like, why can't I fuck with things? This isn't how this was supposed to work. And a mysterious figure is like, that's because this is data and you can't do it like that, sorry. And that person also explains to her a bunch of things about the Book of Prophecies that we later find out there, and the box, and she's like, I figured out all this stuff about the box, I know what's going on. I'm even all up in here watching Lushu and stuff, so it's fine. Forget you, Xehanort. I'm the real plot person now. Yes, it has been etched as a new fun keyword. Now we're getting into more theory speculation. This seems to be a thing said by people who, because the thing that these two have in common, besides saying this, is that they are officially time travelers in the canon. It seems to be in reference to the idea of a thing that has literally been etched onto their heart because of the memories of the future they experienced while outside of the normal flow of time. What that means in the greater scheme of things could be a lot of different things that will come into play later. But it is fun food for thought and a good, important thing to consider and point out. Yes, Sora.
Hold on, because I know this page is going to take you a good hot minute.
Okay.
With the etched thing, could it maybe refer to the idea that it's young Asselnort really couldn't deviate from his future because he had already sort of experienced it, so his heart wanted to reach that experience because it knew it would happen.
Yeah, well,
whereas
Ansem,
who's kind of from the past, it was kind of Seeker of Darkness. Ansem was kind of from the past, pulled to the future. That's why he still had his free will. His heart wasn't etched in that future because he was just kind of popped from the past. It was like, hey, you exist now.
I don't disagree with that, but both of the times it's used is in reference to events, not necessarily their actions, if that makes sense, but in reference to external events.
Okay.
So anyway, how many Norts would it, I'm sorry, how many Rikus would a Nort if Riku, oh god, I can't even say it. Making up new tongue twisters, guys. How many Rikus would a Nort if a Nort could Nort Riku? There we go, alright. I'm here to propose to you a potentially controversial idea that Kingdom Hearts has far more Rikus than it let on to have. At most points, even the Ultimania has like a single entry being like Dark Riku, and it doesn't really say a lot about it. It's just like, here's a boy, he's angry. But if you look at the Repliku who you fight in the Badlands towards the end of the game, and the Riku that you fight in San Francisco, they have wildly different personalities, wildly different approaches to things, all around are displaying, like, they're even wearing different outfits. Like, that's such a little thing that doesn't like read as like it should be a big deal, but it's like a subtle like cue into what's going on. You could even, like, that face, this boy got the crazy eyes, and this boy is like, that's like, this is like stab you in the front. This is like Hannibal Lecter over here, alright? That's, there's also some other little things, like that time, the Riku in San Francisco was like just holding a computer chip, and he's like, ah, yes, I know everything that's on this just by touching it, because that's how people work. I'm not a computer.
Their hair is also slightly different. In the front, it's hard to tell, but in the back, Repla 2, his hair is kind of more streamlined in back, whereas Dataku, his hair is a little more spiked out in the back, in my opinion. At least from those reference images.
From those references, yeah. Also, another small quirk that we picked up when we were taking these screenshots, this guy is smirking with the left, I believe that's left, I know left, the right side of his face, and he's smirking with the left side of his face. Which is one of those things, it's like, you know, like whether you like, you know, which way you hold hands, or that like you always do the same way normally unless you're thinking about it. As another indication, the fandom has lovingly named this like regression Repliku as Repla 2. In the end, Repliku, the original, the good boy, the boy that is literally too good for this world.
Good boy.
And it states very clearly, like, hey, that guy is me from the past, not you from the past. That's why he's such an asshole. He's super insecure and is having an identity crisis, and he's working through that through murder. So we got that there. Also, data, like the bug blocks, they're just right there. Yes.
So is that so is one of the replicas the same one from Chain of Memories, just like kind of reincarnated, or?
Both of them are, hypothetically. So yeah, so we have the Repliku that was living inside Riku's head, like it's fucking Yu-Gi-Oh up in here. Get that Mohitori no Boku up in here. He is the replica from Chain of Memories, who he says, you know, he died in the castle and then wound up in the realm of darkness. Remember, when he dies in Chain of Memories, what he says is, he asks, like, where will my heart go? And Riku says, probably the same place as mine. Where did Riku's heart go when he got screwed over in Kingdom Hearts 1? The realm of darkness. That's how he met Mickey. That's why 0.2 happened. And that's why this terrible rodent left off on the realm of darkness.
How dare you?
So from there, he chilled out there for a while. He almost completely lost himself to darkness when Riku showed up looking for Aqua, and he wound up sort of latching onto Riku and helping him out. That boy is following the Nort's whole scheme of Repla 2, is the Nort's, we're going to go take people from different points in time and bring them forward and put them in replica bodies. So this is, Repla 2 is Chain of Memories replica brought from the past when he's still a salty little bitch. And the Repliku that's talking to Riku is the one that didn't get taken out of the timeline, who got the full character arc and development, has had plenty of time to chill, and now really just wants to help Naminé.
He's a good boy.
He is a good boy. Which brings us to the Demon Time Body Shop. So, some of you may or may not have noticed that Riku just randomly gets a haircut at the beginning of this game.
So upset.
By the darkness.
Who doesn't approve of his hairstyle?
So, unless like some heartless were like, boy, this is a fashion disaster. All right, unless that demon tower was just the heartless of a bunch of people who were really invested in hair care.
Hey man, Heartless need hair care too.
This blip, it's an important piece of evidence. Different people are trying to do different things with it, but it's an important piece of evidence moving forward and trying to figure out what's going to happen in future games and sorting out the actual events and mysteries of Kingdom Hearts 3. It is a fact that this happened. It happened at a weird time, and it's like a conscious decision that Square Enix made. It's not like, oh, we just swapped the character model out halfway through because we forgot. Like, that is not what is going on. Which brings us to... I'm hitting the right click button. Alright, there we go. The Sleeping Realm Theory. This is not my work. This is a 350-page document that you can find on the internet by scanning that QR code or another one at the end of the panel. It's very long, because like I just said, 350 pages with pictures and diagrams and things on a Google Doc, mind you. It's a lot of very nicely formatted text, so it's not like just, full dissertation.
I want to add to this because when I looked through the Sleeping Realm theory, it's something I didn't see, and what I also noticed on the previous panel.
Mm-hmm.
Not only does Riku magically get Dream Drop distance hair, but like if you look at his neck, he's got like this very defined like V at his collarbone.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have that after the barbershop that I can notice. Like
Okay.
it's like his body's got a little younger but
Yeah.
stayed the same size.
Yeah. So the reason the barbershop is relevant to this is what the Sleeping Realm theory did with that as evidence is proving that that's the point where Riku drops into the realm of sleep, because his haircut, if we go back to the previous thing, is hyper resembling of his Dream Drop Distance haircut, just on his older body and face. This lines up timeline-wise with what Sora is doing at the end of the Colosseum, also known as when Kingdom Hearts 2.9, which you thought was a shitpost but was apparently some weird foreshadowing, ends and Kingdom Hearts 3 officially begins. The exact moment where Riku suffers from his darkness haircut and almost drowns is when it cuts to Zigbar doing the May Your Heart Be Your guiding, and then it cuts off. Basically, the point of the whole theory is to propose that the majority of the game actually takes place in the realm of sleep. Nomura said that the beginning tutorial section actually takes place at the end of the game. One of the things that they did with that information is provide that is because that is part of the drop time cycle that they're proposing. The idea that what happened was they did the thing, and Xehanort won, and they all died, and it sucked, because that is a thing that happened in the game. And that the original temporal anomaly sent them back, it forces them into the realm of sleep, and then things were happening on a dream layer. I don't know how much, I agree 90% of the stuff that they do in this theory. There's a lot of really good stuff. One of my favorite things is that the ending is just lies full of cinematography tricks and achronologically presented information. A lot of the things that they talk about is pointing out that half of the cast is looking not at Kairi, even though the cinematography is designed to make you think that they're all looking at Kairi and Sora sitting on the tree when they're actually looking out at the ocean suddenly. Fun stuff like that. We have There Are 7 Hearts to Save, which has much no meaning when you consider that segment happened chronologically at the end of the game, not at the beginning. Also, the Huffalump is, in my opinion, a weirdly strong point of proof to this. It is a very, 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 very obscure Winnie the Pooh character that only exists in people's dreams. Yay.
What?
Yeah. It's, imagination. Beyond that, for whatever reason, the like Dream Eater mojo between Sora and Riku is still working. We got the Gayblade TM is still being used, as well as when Aqua and Riku are fighting in the Realm of Darkness, Sora appears to use a move that he has in Dream Drop Distance that lets him automatically teleport to and protect his Dream Eaters, which Riku is because the power of the Gayblade. So I implore you all, this is a panel giving you homework, because quality, I highly recommend this, to read this. I got a lot of foundation from things that they pointed out in here. If you want to read the whole thing, go on ahead. You are looking like you want to raise your hand,
Yes.
and I can't, yes.
Am I the only one that, like, when you saw the Heffalumps appear in Winnie the Pooh land, you thought, oh no, something bad's about to happen?
No,
No, we're not.
No, you're not, because I was like, but Huffalumps and Woozles. Oh no, Huffalumps and Woozles, because I was raised on that.
She doesn't know what those are.
You don't know what Woozles are?
Remember my mom
Ooh,
hates
bad.
Disney.
Oh, that's true. I'm sorry, little Darkling. Okay.
The Huffalump got more screen time and talking lines than both Dylan and Ilias combined.
Thank you. Thank you, Ericus. You had something?
I accidentally skipped Winnie the Pooh in Kids
Oh.
Games 3.
That's fair. That's valid.
To be fair, I was waiting for it to activate, and it never did for me.
Alright, so let's talk about Kyrie. Most people were disappointed in what felt like false promises for Kyrie to be a badass. I have a potential proposed alternative that, while is not necessarily excuse what happened, may soften the blow. It may be less woobly waifu syndrome and more extremely elaborate foreshadowing to some of the stuff tying into the Sleeping Realm theory, or something similar along the lines of what the Sleeping Realm theory proposed. Some things to consider. Kyrie randomly shattering into glass like it's Final Fantasy 13 up in here. Also, I meant to have a slide pointing out an image of Shion, crystallizing and dying the same way. There's a bit of a cause and effect question whether or not that's Shion dying like Kyrie because there's something wrong with Kyrie, or Kyrie dying like Shion because there's something concerning going on because replicas.
This might sound crazy, but I just thought of this. When this is something you might have to check, or something you might know off the top of your head, when Ven destroys his own station of awakening along with Vanitas, it makes a very distinct glass shattering sound. Is it kind of similar to the same sound?
Is it similar with Kyrie?
Yeah,
that's a good question.
Because if it's the same kind of sound and it takes place in the realm of sleep, that would make sense because of the stations of awakening kind of being like a weird in-between place.
Yeah. When this first happened, my assumption was, my brain went to a Tsubasa place, if anyone here remembers Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles, and when Baby Nort was like, there's a high price to pay, it was like you can save all your friends except for the one that you care about the most, so Kyrie's going to remain dead or have a doomed fate. Although since Sora wound up dying, I don't know. We have Kyrie acting suspiciously in general with all of her like, don't worry, Sora, I'm going to protect you this time. I don't know what's going on. What are you talking about? This isn't suspicious. We have the incident with the Palpoos where there's a I used the wrong screenshot. I apologize, everyone. But when they exchange Palpoos, Sora bites into the Palpoo. Kyrie does not. Yeah, that was the thing that happened. That's a little concerning there. And of course, finally, the water dark side. Even the journal entry on this dark side points out that it is not normal. There is something wrong with it. It is made of water. Kyrie cannot produce a normal Heartless because she is a princess of heart. Kyrie, whose name means ocean and is usually associated with water things. The idea that this dark side might be what was produced from Kyrie's death, especially because, remember, that sequence takes place after the end of the game, not at the beginning, because Nomura is rude. My current leading theory on this is actually that, like, potentially, like, somehow during Kingdom Hearts 3, Kyrie just doesn't exist. I'm not talking about, like, your weak-ass nobody not existing. I'm talking Titus levels, alright?
Oh.
Yeah, I went there. What?
Oh wow.
Also, look at the top of the dark side, and then look at Kyrie right before shattering.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's basically the same texture.
Yeah, the texturing and imagery of the Kyrie before shattering and the dark side are, like, the same thing, which is why the, yeah. So we have that. It's concerning. Okay. You would not believe your eyes. 10 million ski kids. A common theory that's been accepted for the most part is that the Demon Tide, aka known as the most rude boss in the history of things. No. We played 0.2 before the patch on critical mode, and it was a bad time. It was a
I
bad
managed to break the boss and
Oh yeah,
fell along the
it got
stage.
stuck under Destiny Islands. It
I
was,
had to restart.
Oh no.
especially given how you fight it at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 with all of the Union Cross Keyblades and people. The idea is that it's made up of all of the dead Key Kids from the Keyblade War. It would make sense.
That would make sense. That's so sad.
Especially since you see Ephemera inside. The Dark Inferno, he's the secret boss at the end of the game as of right now until more DLC happens. You fight him where you fight the Demon Tide. He has that weird darknessy scarf thing attached to him that looks a lot like Ephemera's scarf. He has a lot of design things similar to, I mean, he's clearly, you know, like, in the invisible, like, evolution line, but he has a lot of cues brought up from the Darklings, otherwise known as Keyblade wielders who have fallen to darkness and retain some level of consciousness. It is, I was not the first and not the last to go, is that just darkness ephemera? Is that what happened? Is this a Key Kid who lived for like thousands of years and is now just a heartless? That's sad. Yes?
The end of Dark Inferno's tail kind of looks like a keychain ending. And I have the name of the Keyblade on the tip of my tongue, but I can't name it.
Yeah. If anyone couldn't hear, Sora pointed out that the end of this particular of the Dark Inferno looks like a keychain from the Keyblades from Key. So we have that. Yes. Several of you know this. Several of you love it. Several of you hate it. It's controversial, but we're going to talk about it anyway because it's out there. Yeah. One of the most concerning things I ever, and like, I was like really on the fence with this originally until Nomura was like, there's a reason we don't know what happened to Demix. I was like, oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Here we just have several screenshots just from 3 and back cover of similar gestures, posing, and behaviors and mannerisms between the Master of Masters and Demix. They behave very, very similarly. Demix says things in Kingdom Hearts 3, like, I can be intimidating if I want to, which is like,
I'm extremely imposing when I want to be, which admittedly is almost never.
In addition, yes? Yeah, yes, and of course we cannot forget about the time that in Kingdom Hearts 2, Demix was objectively correct the whole time. Oh, we do too have hearts. Don't be mad. I'm mad, Demix. I'm mad. Besides that, dipping into some Tui lore, if y'all saw the secret ending, it takes place in Shibuya. There's been a couple of different Tui cues in Kingdom Hearts 3 besides that. There's actually a poster in Twilight Town that looks like one of the Hoodie Reavers. Things like that. Tui, no spoilers, it's very music themed. The most powerful character in the game is called the Composer. A lot of music is power thing, and we have our Bard. So that whole putting another spin on that as well. Yes. Shion, what are you even doing here? You don't go here. You don't even go here. The one good thing about this is that Nomura has promised that this is going to be one of the things addressed in the DLC coming up. One of my favorite fun facts is there's a scene in the Days movie that I actually I missed so many times, but then once I noticed it, I couldn't unsee it, and you always miss it because it's like sandwiched between sobbing your eyes out because who will I eat ice cream with? So you're like, oh no, like it's like between I'll always be there to bring my friends back and but who will I eat ice cream with? So like you're like just too emotionally stressed to pay attention to any of that. But Axel does bring Shion back. He passes out, and Xemnas just walks up and picks her up and carries her off. And then the next scene it cuts to is Shion being like, hey Roxas, time to go back to Sora. No explanation. So I'm assuming whatever happened there has to do a lot with whatever happened with Shion joining the organization. Like, it's a mess. Yes. Ericus?
Yo, Xehanort.
Where's the Keyblade? No. So at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, it's just the thing that Sora has now. At the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, Xehanort had the Keyblade, and then his husband showed up and was like, you got to give that to that child. You just need to stop. Just sit down. Just stop. And he's like, oh, okay.
Give that child the most powerful weapon in the
And this is one of those things where there's another concerning cinematographic moment similar to the beginning of the game, where like it just cuts. Like there's just a random hard jump cut in the middle of a cutscene where it's right after this where Sora's like, yeah, we're gonna fix things, and then it just cuts to them all being in the Badlands, and he's like, well, time to go die now. Which is one of the most suspicious things possible. We don't know what happened to the Keyblade. Does Sora still have it? Did it dissipate after Kingdom Hearts exploded? Over there first?
I saw a theory just the other day that the whole game was like set up to get Sora to bring the Keyblade to the Master of Masters and then she do it.
That makes sense.
I saw another theory that's kind of on the same page, but almost instead it was to get the Keyblade to Lushu. Because when Xehanort made the Keyblade, his personal copy of No Name, or Goat of Atonement, if that's actually a thing.
Goat of Atonement, yes.
If that's actually a thing. It became the Keyblade. Then he gave that to Sora, and then we see No Name fall out of the sky, and Lushu picks it up. So it's possible that the Keyblade just reverted back into the blade it was made out of, and Lushu is potentially just holding a sealed version of the Keyblade.
Yeah.
Which is equally as concerning.
I don't know. I'd rather Sora have it than Lucia Breakbar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone does.
And now it's time for chess! We will never escape chess. Alright. So, at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, we have a new, fun, and exciting chess game. Nomura has confirmed that these are going to basically be the villains of the next game. He also makes a statement where like he implies that the seventh piece isn't the Master of Masters, which is one of the most concerning things that I've seen in a while. Because everyone assumes like, oh well, yeah, there's 7 of them, so this is 7 pieces. It makes sense. But he was like, oh yeah, it's the Masters and Lushu, and you can probably guess the end. And it's like, wait, it's not Mom? What do you mean it's not Mom? Why is it what? As for who that last piece is. One of the pieces rather conspicuously looks like, and it's the one that doesn't match anyone, because we got, Goaty Goat McGoaterson, and all the other foreteller animals, so those are all obvious, is this piece that looks like the Book of Prophecies, or the symbol on the Book of Prophecies, it's not shaped like a book. Given the rules of Coded and Jiminy's Journal, who is a person who walks around because this is a Square Enix game, it is likely that I'm good at words, guys. That the actual original copy of the Book of Prophecies is in the shape of a person, and that person is that piece. We'll talk more about who later. You can all mysteries. Yes. Skull and Kylo. Chesby here. The fandom, at least all of the fanfiction I've read, have just seemed to assume that this is now Keyblade Hogwarts. I'm oddly okay with this.
Valid.
It has so one of the things I don't have pictures of it here, but I'm going to mention it now. It has its own language. A concerning thing that we've picked up in a couple of places now is that several of the symbols used throughout the game, including the Unverse symbol and the Dream Eater symbols, are letters in that language. So like all of those Unverse probably just have like a U on them. A lot less badass. But yeah, or it could be more hieroglyphic type thing, and it might have another meaning that could be more concerning. Yes.
Unverse symbol is a V because Vanitas, and everything ties into everything.
I mean, if that's correct, we should actually try to sit down and cipher this sometime. I feel silly.
Would that make Dream Eaters Riku because Riku?
Because Riku, I mean, maybe. This whole world is extremely suspicious. We're just throwing out the phrase nexus of all worlds, whatever that means. Like, you can't just say that, Xehanort. You can't just casually be like, oh yes, this is where all of the worlds come from, and then like not talk about it. You love talking. I demand more exposition.
I want more exposition.
Maybe it's because he knows Sora doesn't have enough brain cells to understand. Yes.
Speaking of Scarlet, when I was thinking about like the four tellers have a different set, different armor, different appearance. I was thinking maybe Lucius was Xehanort's armor from Scarlet.
Because we have the, because you have Xehanort's new armor, and then you have the armor from the, of all of the clones. And I do believe that the armor that all the clones have came from the Kiera and is associated with Lucius. One of the big things that we have is that Daybreak Town, 110%, especially with the Ultimania and Nomura, is the tower from Daybreak Town, from the cell phone game, is just there. Under the water. It's in the background of the fight when you fight Xehanort underwater. They show it when it pans under the water. There's a big artwork of it in the Ultimania showing the concept art of the big Scala Tower and the tower that goes, the clock tower. The clock tower is all beat up with gears falling into the water. It's concerning, especially since in recent KHUX updates, they've been talking about, connections with Daybreak Town in the real world and the data Daybreak Town and all this other stuff. So that connection is a thing that needs to be considered. Whether or not, we also never see Scala in like a real capacity. We visit it in like some weird memory world of Xehanort via portal because
Why not?
we have to go deeper. So does it still exist? Did it ever actually exist? Yes.
Have you seen the comparison of Scala to Final World where they're like, it kind of looks like they tried to, whoever or whatever created Scala, if it was a real thing, tried to emulate it off of the Final World, like that big old block that Sora has to reconstruct himself on?
Yeah, it has a lot of visual cues from the Final World, the calcite block of death and destiny. Has a lot of the same structural visual cues. It has the same reflective thing, whether or not that was the people trying to like emulate heaven in the real world, or whether or not Scala at one time existed in that place, or something along those lines. Ooh. Yeah, that's a new one.
I bet you can find some really good ingredients.
Yes. Just when you thought you understood Xehanort's time travel, it gets more confusing. So, according to the secret reports, right, and everything that's been said, the proposed timeline is that this 20-year-old man with this dark, silky villain voice is younger than this snot-nosed child with the nasally, I'm here to help you with your math homework, Ericus. Somehow, because according to every source, every secret report, everything that they've said, Xehanort did not leave the island until he traveled through time. He met Mr. Robe Guy, it's a technical term, was sent to the future, learned a bunch of bullshit, and it was that act that made him want to leave the island. This is even stated outright. This is the official timeline from one of the Ultimanias, from the one that came out before KH3. And it says, and it's right there, it was given the power to travel through time. Then, when he got back, left behind the homeworld, and did all of his training with Ericus and chess, and it says in the land of departure, not Scala and Kylum. I'd like to point that one out, because that's another concerning thing right there. So yeah, we have possible timelines. So this is what it wants us to believe. Island boy, time travel boy, chess boy, a lot of shit, angry old man. Alright.
We lost
He's
all
not
that hair.
angry, he's just psycho.
This would make far more sense. This is what I was actually starting to assume before I dug a little deeper. It was Island Boy leaves, meets Ericus, goes and trains and learns some stuff. It's also explained why, he's like the super hard secret boss. He's already been training all officially with his Keyblade and stuff, right? Then, right before his Mark of Mastery or something, goes back to the island and encounters Mr. Rope Guy, and then you got some, maybe he encountered him twice, one that made him leave the island and one that gave him the time travel powers. That's what I was thinking. It's also important to keep in mind, in the handheld games, they didn't have enough room to have like multiple character models of a lot of the characters to make them younger. Like in BBS, there are scenes where Ventus is supposed to be 12 and it's using the same character model, even though he would definitely look different. So like, I'm willing to forgive Island Nord for not looking like Tiny Child. Like that's okay, that's fine. I have one last proposition for you. One that is more concerning, which is this.
What?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so we have Island Boy, we have time travel, then he comes back, he trains with Ericus, he grows into Asshole McGee, and then that thing happens and they're like, oh, we're going to gay heaven together, it's gonna be fun. and they turn into these young, adorable children. Who's to say that any of the scenes we saw of them playing chess took place in the past? There is one, and I will admit, I will put a point of evidence against myself because I'm a man of science, and I believe in being thorough and exploring all avenues, and that is, Xehanort does at one point say like, well, Ericus, a prospective Keyblade master should know this, God, which does, tonally sound younger and also indicates that they aren't actually masters yet. However, who knows what sort of weird shit's going on? Maybe it's a dream later. Maybe it's an entirely different world line where he never encountered future him and things went differently. It could be all sorts of nonsense. But the likelihood that it is this bottom option, especially with the refusal to refer to them as Xehanort and Ericus, is very high. Because in all cases, these are the boy in black and the boy in white. I trust. Oh yes.
Now, I actually see a small clip of that, the scene I'm about to question. If it is that third timeline, then why would they talk about the future? It's already been written, and then looking at No Name that's on a wall. If No Name is in Lushu's hands by the time they go to gay husband heaven.
That is a good question. That's another thing against it. I actually am wondering if, I think the strongest option is it's happening in another world line, or on another dream layer, because I think what's actually happening, especially given the times and points at which they cut to the chess game, is it's happening the same time as the events in Kingdom Hearts 3. With Ericus being light from the past, and then light from the past. In the cutscene, with the timing of it would be, which would make the comment about Lushu and the Book of Prophecies make more sense. I trust Ericus as far as I can throw him, and that is not far because I have tiny bird arms. he clearly knows something that he's not supposed to. We have in a recent interview, or it's not in a recent interview, it's in the secret reports and in a clarification in the Ultimania that this line about being a blue blood, yes, he is descended from someone from the K2X era, 110%. It's probably Brain, unless he is Brain, because this is a Kingdom Hearts game, and they look exceedingly similar. And time travel is on the table, obviously. Xehanort is clearly pressing him for some kind of information, and he's just like, nah, it's fine. I don't know what's going on. Why would I tell you things? Also, something he says when he goes to murder Ventus, because that's not suspicious, is the Keyblade has no place in this or any world, which would potentially be an indication that all along he knew that multiple world lines were a thing, which is concerning in general. His fixation with, well, we can change the future, rides a fine line between peppy, optimistic shonen protagonist and we're going to change the future, Xehanort. So let's talk about Brain, because he's definitely in that latter option. We have, I'm going to be the virus that overwrites that destiny. That's a sentence that protagonists say, definitely. This update also, this is a Japanese update from K2X. If you don't know who Brain is, he is one of the foretellers, second generation foretellers from the cell phone game. He spends most of his time with his hat shadowing his eyes. This is the first time we see his face. This update came out the same day as Kingdom Hearts 3 in Japan. So these were like synced to happen at the same time. And it's like Erica's face. Also, virus words and screw the future. He gives this long, angry rant about how the future is still going towards a cursed destiny, perhaps despite what the Master of Masters did, perhaps despite something Ericus does in the future to help his ancestor or whatever, despite something. It's suspicious, and we know for a fact that he is working against the Master of Masters and Lushu, because in the secret reports, Lushu is like, I don't know who this asshole is, but it's kind of problematic, and he needs to not. Ericus is not a good boy. Alright, hear me out. He is not getting that #1 dad mug. We do not murder our children in this house. Ericus?
That was one time.
We also, on the verge of sounding a little hypocritical, don't just like sit there casually possessing Terra for like 15 years while Xehanort's also possessing him and not do anything about it, and then just pop out at the end to be like, oh, hey Xehanort, you should give Sora that Keyblade. Sorry about. No, he doesn't even say sorry to Terra. That was the thing everyone was mad about. He's like, oh, Aqua, Ben, I'm so sorry. Terra, sucks to be you. Bye. Yeah. He just. Again, just like, oh no, it's fine, Xehanort, we're gonna go to gay heaven now. That is not the face of a good boy. Alright? No. That is sketchy. Yes.
Also, with the whole, didn't they in Birth by Sleep Final Mix, I don't know if it was a Final Mix only scene or not, I honestly have used at this point.
You Sly Fox scene?
Yeah. Where Xehanort was having trouble fully possessing Terra, and that's why Science Nort was able to exist. Because Ericus gave Terra enough light to perfectly balance, and it was just like, well, neither of us have control now. And then Science Nort was like, I am born.
Science Nort
driving the body.
Then who was driving the body? That was actually a screenshot I wanted to put on one of these slides, and then wound up not doing that because some of these got done at 3 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. So thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, no, that's also like, it was stated in the secret ending of Birth by Sleep, like, Ericus is just chilling, and like, he's not doing enough to help, because I feel like Ericus could have prevented the whole Unguardian situation. I'm just throwing that out there. So yeah. Where I'm going with this, the potential outcome of this, there are two things. All right, either Ericus, because you have Xehanort, you have that like precious child before anything goes wrong, Xehanort. being like, oh, I'll always be there for you. It is entirely possible that these two have been actually working together in some capacity the whole time to accomplish an even greater goal that we don't know about, with all of their chess gaming and their scheming and nonsense. That there was a greater goal that they both agreed needed to be accomplished but disagreed on how to accomplish it, and that's why they were fighting. Or that Ericus in the end is going to wind up being the main villain that is the next one after Xehanort and winds up being worse than Xehanort the whole time, and it'll be sad. I didn't really think that last one was an option until I saw the Keyblade in this or any world line, and I was like, oh, nope, there's that confirmation that he knew about frickin' K2X this whole time. Alright, that's fine. Yeah.
Is that the reason? Is that one of the reasons why Terranort while fighting Aqua was like struggling? Because the two forces trying to control it.
Oh yes, yes. Was because he had Ericus's will potentially supplanting.
Three.
Yeah, yeah. Three heads in the boy. Yes.
Yeah, I question, although first I want to comment on that, yeah, if it hadn't been for Ericus, Aqua probably would have got completely bodied in Birth by Sleep, just she would have been destroyed by Terranort. And also, like, when it comes to Ericus, like, just, what was his goal if he was just chilling, and like, I honestly feel like with the way he wanted to go about making light a thing, like, I think it would have been a better plot twist if he was the guardian, because like his obsession with light caused his own light caused his own darkness to become massive. And also, I'm calling it now. I know they might be setting up the Master of Masters to be the next villain, but next saga, Eradicators of Light.
Yeah.
Calling it.
Yeah.
Kind of
different. Yes.
tying in with the Ericus reacts rather abrasively at the very first sign of darkness from Terra.
Yeah.
Which, that's honestly a little concerning for just, oh, you're my student.
Especially after being like fucking married to Xehanort, like
Yeah.
like this is my darkness husband. No, not you, child.
Not you.
It's just,
also just again,
he started my face.
murdering Ventus because the only reason he knew the whole time what Ventus was in some capacity. There's no good reason for him to come to the conclusion, let's just kill Ventus. That doesn't actually make any sense.
No.
That wouldn't be an appropriate definitive stop to his Xehanort's first attempt to create the Keyblade. He clearly knows, like, also you see him, like, Xehanort shows up and like, oh yeah, here's this random child that you already know about, can you take him for a while? Okay, fine. And knew about the Vanitas situation as well because Xehanort, like, explained all of that. So, his whole, like, relationship with Ventus is really concerning.
Very.
Okay. Luze at Break Bar. The man of too many names. Yeah. Segueing into officially... You like what?
His eyeliner.
Oh, yeah, his eyeliner is on point. Segueing into talking more about key era things. We still don't know what's in the damn box. Backcover was like, it's okay, you'll find out Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts 3 happened. They were like, ha, psych! What we still know about the box. It has, there's a symbol on it with 13 spikes on the outside and 7 on the inside, indicative of the Keyblade. There are 13 locks on the box. People used to be like, oh, that's why you need Organization 13. You need 13 people to open the box. Well, no, apparently not. And there's writing on it that appears to read X Super. This would seem to tie in with the Master of Masters, as the naming schemes of the foretellers are after the 7 sins. The missing sin is pride, which is superbia. Ira is anger, Ava is greed, is avarice, yeah, so on and so forth. And of course we have the ever concerning, but hope is in the box, whatever that means. It's a person-sized box, so I still think there's a person in there, because if there's one thing that anime has taught me, it's that your waifu is in a box. You in the back.
I'm just gonna say, this is just Pandora's box. That's all you can see.
Well, they actually do literally find Pandora's box in Hercules. I know, 100%. Which I was so impressed. It's the same design design as Pandora's box in the Hercules animated cartoon. Like they went and dug that up. A+ continuity square.
Man,
All right, the KH-UX Matrix. I thought this was debunked when KH3 came out until some updates happened after KH3. The idea is basically that Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key or Union Cross is happening in a datascape, potentially on loop, mirroring what happened. All of the Keyblade War happened. There was a group called the Dandelions that fled. Most of you probably are aware of this. And the place they fled to was a datascape. The secret reports also refer to it as another world line. And there seems to be controversy, even some of the most recent Japanese updates over like, are we in the real world or are we in a computer? I'm not sure actually. I'm starting to second guess that because coded enemies just started popping up in this last cutscene, so maybe we are in a computer, guys. Maleficent herself, I talked about this a little bit already, repeatedly draws comparisons to the Book of Prophecies in Jiminy's Journal, aka the first datascape that we got familiar with. So the likelihood that this, the way the Book of Prophecies work is so similar that they are straight up in a datascape is extremely likely. It could be a higher tier one made by the Book of Prophecies. It's implied that what the worlds that the Book of Prophecies create are of a higher quality and more tangible than the datascapes. It's sort of the difference between a normal AI and the dot hack sign aura AI levels up in here. That was a reference. The Darkness. This is the mysterious figure that tells Maleficent about a lot of stuff. They are literally a shadowy figure. It's hard to see on the cell phone, but they step forward. I upped the contrast of this so you can see that. They're this weird, shadowy, glowy blob. They explain a lot of things, and they introduce themselves as the Darkness because someone managed to be more extra than Xehanort and his 13-person choreography. Luxu even talks about a darkness that arrives and is screwing up the Master of Masters' plan. The fact that Luxu says this in a report means it's definitely not Luxu or the Master of Masters or someone on that side. Totally debunking that as the potential thing. I have two propositions for who this is. I'm a man of science, so I'm going to go through both and treat them both equally, even though I honestly keep flopping between which one I like more as more information crops up, but both are really viable, and I feel that it's important in theory time to sort of explore all of the possible avenues with all of the evidence that we have. So first is your boy, Vanitas, who, makes quite a show of dramatically naming himself the Darkness. And the rules of time travel is leaving your body behind and having a version of yourself in the past, which he both has. In Monsters, Inc., it's implied that Vanitas, I didn't time travel here like the other Xehanorts. I actually just was a ghost in the Badlands for 20 years and then happened to find a scream factory and was able to remake myself. It's fine. I'm fine. I'm not fine.
When has he ever been fine?
That's a good point.
So that also kind of implies that the Vanitas remnant wasn't just him making a last-ditch effort to cut a part of himself out to survive. That's literally all that was left of him, and you just can go and beat him up constantly.
Yeah. No.
So that's fun. That's fun.
You have that chunk of the Vanitas remnant secret boss that makes it even more depressing. So it's pretty. There is a lot of it fits really well. The glove really fits. The other option is Dataku. The conversation that he has with Maleficent and San Francisco is super suspicious and super makes it sound like that this is what's up. The conversation is designed to make you, really think that it's just Riku from the past. That doesn't make any sense. their dynamic from Hollow Bastion back in Kingdom Hearts 1 is nothing like this at all. He was never quite that flippant, and she was never that, like, respectful of him. This is Maleficent talking to this random fucking child as an equal. They have this really vague conversation that heavily implies, not even imply, like pretty much outright states, they have their own goals, they have this own secret plan. The example like, when the Darkness explains time travel to Maleficent, he explains, it's more he's explaining to the audience, but he explains to her how she got here. He's like, oh yeah, I know your plan. Dadaku would be aware of all of those events because he inherits Riku's memories from the journal, knowing that Maleficent got stabbed and all of that. Vanitas could have just gotten that information from Xehanort, but he would already know it. He relived it in the journal. We also already have Maleficent drawing the constant parallels between the Book of Prophecies and the journal, as well as the idea of Dadaku showing up in a datascape in the KHUX matrix would make perfect sense. Him just being able to be like, oh, I can do this. So that's a thing. Also, the Dark Cube's inner core looks just like the enemies that show up in the recent KHUX update, further seeming to tie a connection. Yes?
Darkness kind of talks like possessed Riku.
Yes, and I have to agree that the mannerisms and the way that the Darkness speaks is closer to Data Riku, which is that very cold, calculated, like, he talks like a robot, because he's a robot.
Because he's a computer.
Because he's a computer. He's a good computer. Well, he was a good computer. Now he's an ordered computer. But, alright. Alright, this slide has been in this panel from the dawn of time. We don't even know who the traitor is yet. For those of you who have seen that cover, you remember Asen angrily shaking Gula. These screenshots are all from the original browser version of Kingdom Hearts Key, something that no longer exists, but you can watch all the cutscenes on Evergo's channel, or Cage Insider, I believe, has translations of them too now. This scene here, where Ava is fighting Lushu, is interspliced with Gula talking to the player in Skuld about what's on the Lost page, which is the page foretelling that there is a traitor. It reads, on the one unable to forgive this distastefulness, who thought of fate with pessimism and lost true strength, the one who will misread the truth and step into secrecy. Basically, it seems to be talking about a person who loses faith in the idea of the Book of Prophecies and following the Master's teachings. Probably the person who summoned Kingdom Hearts. We know it got summoned, we know it was one of the foretellers, but we don't know who it was, or necessarily why. But this gives some answers to that. It cuts to Lushu and Ava talking, where Lushu is like, oh, but, yup, that's the true identity of the traitor. And she's like, wait, what? He doesn't say it on screen, of course, it's like a, cutaway, so you don't know. And she attacks him in time with that one swing that tells, with that one swing, the bell that tells the end of the battle will sound, and the battle will finally begin at the destined time. Which, after that, she attacks him, the bell at the clock tower goes, and then the Keyblade War starts. So that's just the prophecy coming true with Ava attacking the guy, so it seems pretty likely that it's Ava. Yes?
Also, with Union Cross, you basically play through the original Kingdom Hearts Key up to about 80% of it, and then it diverts, and this scene is not even hinted at or talked about or even referenced at all in the new world line.
Yep.
Like, even with the new second gen foretellers mentioning a few things that they should only know from the original browser game, no one's still talking about this,
Nope.
which is really sketchy because Skuld is there, and she should have been able to talk about it.
Yep, yes, she should. Oh, we could also talk about the fact that when they show the credits of the original browser game, it goes through like all of the things your player did, but like with Skuld and Ephemera doing them and not your player character. That's another fun and exciting, sketchy thing.
That's exciting.
But yeah, no, seriously. And then you have Lushu being like, oh yeah, I know what Ava's doing, it's fine. This his reaction to Alva being absent and the fact that Alva was absent really knocked it home out of the park for me. 100% Alva is the traitor that was being talked about and was probably the one who originally summoned Kingdom Hearts. Yes. I know the ones who laugh are the ones who've gotten to this nonsense. Those who play the cell phone game often argue on the internet over who killed Strelitzia. It's quite the mystery. It's our own little real game of... I see you angrily pointing, Roxas. Our own little game of Clue. It's not Lorium. People assumed it was Lorium because he's Marluxia and he's the assassin, and I went, no, because his boss mech is a woman, and that woman is probably that girl, and then that's what happened, and I was like, oh my god, I was right for once. And of course, we now know 100% that Lorium is Strelitzia's older brother, and in the current updates, he's desperately looking for her, trying to solve the mystery and find out what happened to her. He is kind of a scary yandere, and it's wonderful. We have Ephemera, who is the effective leader, although he has white hair and therefore cannot be trusted. Yeah, I see you back there. We've talked all kinds of things about how sketchy Skuld is right now. We have Brain, who is clearly the one who's not supposed to be there. That doesn't mean he killed her, though. I would like to point out that while that is a strong thing, we've already had the misdirect of them, like, showing Lorium, introducing Lorium in the same update as her dying to try to make you think that he killed her. And then we have precious little Venti Wenty.
It's him.
Who cannot be trusted. Who cannot be trusted.
The mayor was Strelitzi.
Also, Strelitzi is there, not just because, you have to kill a character in Clue, but because, unironically, it's not impossible that she actually killed herself, because time travel is a thing. And there's a robed figure in the cover art of Key that is clearly her, probably her nobody, because hearts go to the final world, so that was her heart there, so it's potential that her nobody is still running around and doing things, or was the first nobody and was doing things. Venti Wenty is sketchy wedgy. Goodbye, Kingdom Key. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
It's fine. One of the most recent things that have attributed to Vent's sketchiness, this was a thing that I always personally worried about, and then it just was like Nora being like, oh yes, you should definitely worry about that. There's this whole section of the interview where Nora is like, oh yeah, by the way, the reason Xemnas is looking for Ventus is because he's an ancient Keyblade wielder. And the interviewer guy is like, oh, so that means Xehanort knew that Ventus was an old-time Keyblade wielder. And he just is like, oh, yeah, I should show how they met sometime. And just left turns so hard out of that question. It's like, oh no. Ventus, how Ventus and Xehanort met being important means that there's so many things wrong with this child. It's potentially possible that, yes.
When Nomura dodges a question so hard that you can't even time deja vu to it fast enough, you know it's important.
Yeah. It's even possible that some of the things that Xehanort knows about the ancient past, Ventus somehow told him before he lost his memories. It could be possible that the splitting of Ventus and Vanitas was, okay, well, if this doesn't work, I have some Keyblade fodder, but, can you please remember the fucking shit that you need to tell me, son? All sorts of fun things there. We have that time that Ventus shows up to one of the union leader meetings, and he's like, what do you mean we're supposed to enact PvP in this update? And if everyone's like, didn't you read the rulebook then? And he's like, I just didn't understand that part. I'm not shady. The cutscene showing the Master of Masters saying to Alva, yeah, we're going to give one of these key kids the Book of Prophecies. Only one gets a copy. Their name is circled in red. That's in the same update as when Ventus is introduced. Now I just set a mark against that, which was when they did that with Lorium and Strelitzia. That was a false, but it could be indication that he's the one who got that book. We also have Missing Ink. That's a new thing that happened. Ventus's original Keyblade was apparently a Keyblade called Missing Ink. If you look at this lovely little screenshot down here, it's made of 80% darkness. Alright? It's one of the Proud Mode Keyblades that you have to level up using exclusively dark matter. It also has, it's hard to see, but in like the center of the slots, the same angel and batwing motifs as the things on the Book of Prophecies and the back of the Master's chair and all of that stuff. Yes.
And the new proofs from Kingdom Hearts 3.
The new proof.
The proofs of whatever the certificates. They
Oh,
also
yes,
have Angelic
the
and Demon Wing.
critical mode stuff. The critical mode proofs.
The critical mode
Yes.
and the Lucky Emblem thing.
Yes. Basically in-game trophies.
Yeah.
But plot-relevant ones that are sketchy and full of foreshadowing for some reason because it's Nomura. And we love him dearly. But yeah, no. It is him walking up with Darkness McGee Keyblade. Also, it's called Missing Ache, and it's like, is this a Vanitas reference even though that hasn't happened yet? What's this nonsense? So yeah.
It's also distressingly Strelitzia shaped.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Missing Ache is actually one of Roxas's Keyblades from
Oh,
Days.
yes, and Roxas gets a year in days that lets you use Missing Ache. That is less suspicious to me because it's sort of like, well, yeah, Ventus had it, then Roxas being able to use it is...
I just remember because I was looking it up for something, and then that update came out, and I kind of went.
So earlier I was talking about how the Book of Prophecies is probably a person. I'm pretty sure that person is Ven. It would explain things like how he survived getting cut in half and didn't just turn into a Heartless like a normal person. And that unversed are a thing that Vanitas can do. We have the fact that Castle Oblivion, suspiciously randomly for reasons that no one seems to understand, including the organization, functions similarly to the Book of Prophecies. It projects worlds from the past rather than the future, but it's still projecting worlds. It uses the card system, which is the same mechanic that was used in the original version of Key, when the Book of Prophecies was directly projecting worlds. And of course we had Venti Wenti asleep, potentially powering Castle Oblivion when it was locked away. So, the idea that basically currently Ventus is the thing projecting the world that everyone is in KHUX. If it's not Ventus, it's someone else, but my money is on this boy. Who has had no name. So, Lushu randomly comments just casually in this secret reports about having passed down his Keyblade to one of the new union leaders. We know who it's not, because these kids are in the future, and if they brought no name to the future, then there would be a paradox, and that's not how that works. Unless it was Scold and somehow... No, that doesn't work. No, like, gave it back to Science Snort after he lost it somehow for some reason, but no. It has to be either Brain or Ephemera because they are the key kids who stayed in the past, that to the extent of our knowledge did not come to the future. We definitely know Ephemera did not come to the future because of his like light ghost helping you punch the demon tide in the face. The likelihood that it was Ephemera that had it is actually very, very high, although it could also be Brain, especially if Brain was the ancestor of Ericus. That would be why it got passed down. Maybe, adding to that Zeraquis salt of like, oh, you asshole, you got the Keyblade I was supposed to get. Screw you. Alright. Welcome to the TUI portion of this panel. If you do not want TUI spoilers, it is time to flee to the hills.
Is this final mix TUI or just regular TUI?
I think I mentioned something in Final Mix, but I do mention something from Final Mix.
Okay.
Yes. Final Remix. The
new one.
The newest new one, not the cell phone one.
Remake.
Yeah, the new one. Well, there's been like 2 or 3 reboots. Yes. Oh, the world ends with you. For those who do not know, oh yeah. Yep, and they're the ones fleeing. You're good, you're good.
Play the game though, it's amazing.
It's a really good game. Okay. Hello, people who are left. The secret ending takes place in Shibuya. Not just Shibuya, but specifically the Shibuya with the 104 building, the same as in The World Ends With You. Also, it's written with katakana in every instance in the Ultimania, whereas Shibuya, the actual city, is written in kanji. Just so you know that it is definitely Scrambled Crossing. That is where he is. See you in Shibuya, yes.
Didn't Nomura specify that?
We were talking about it, yeah. Sorry, I got you, boo. Here is the quote that you were about to bring up. Nomura does talk about that it's not related to the See You in Shibuya promise. I'm just going to read, the interviewer asks, like, oh, is it the same Shibuya from Tui? And he says it does look like it, but there's more meaning in the fact that it's not, that is not Shibuya written in kanji, but Shibuya written in katakana. Also, Sora promised Neku and the others that in Cage 3D that he would meet them in Shibuya, but that doesn't mean that it's a direct connection, that it's directly connected to the movie. Now, I don't think that this means all Tui references with the secret ending are off the table. What I think it means is that it's not from the primary Tui timeline. Tui has so many parallel world things baked into it, which I think is important to take into account since Kingdom Hearts 3 is introducing world lines, and that connection is important. Nomura also states that it's basically the world of Vera Rex. I kind of expect basically the Tin Pin timeline versions of characters to show up. For those who aren't familiar with this, at the end of The World Ends With You, in the original, there's an extra level that's a parallel timeline. That actually has to do with the greater plot, technically, but you meet all these derpy parallel world versions of the characters where, like, Joshua is extra gay, and Neku is extra angsty, and Beat is just extra Beat. And it's a silly place. Joshua wants to be the Pink Ranger. It's strange.
Oh,
that's where that's from. Yes. The idea that it's going to be they'll run into Joshua, but it's not the same Joshua, I think is very high. Talking about the physical locations in Japan, it's Scrambled Crossing and the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building, which is in. It's on the next slide, and I suddenly cannot remember how to pronounce it. Shinjuku. There we go. Which is another section of Tokyo. We can see that Riku and Sora, like, these buildings are 100% in the same place. These are 100% those locations. And it actually, the camera pans from Scramble Crossing up to the Master of Masters over to where you can see Shinjuku in the distance. So Riku and Sora are in the same place. Here's just a map of Japan. And this is how far away Sora and Riku are from each other on foot. It's about 50 minutes without flow motion.
They'll be fine.
You had a question, or are you good?
I was about to say it's pretty similar to Green Drop Distance, but they're the same place.
Yeah. The sleeping realm theory proposes that the next installment in Kingdom Hearts, Nomura has officially said. Why does the mic suddenly sound louder? Nomura did make an official statement saying that there's going to be one more in-between installment before Kingdom Hearts 4. And the sleeping realm theory is like Dream Drop Distance 2, Electric Boogaloo. And like, you're probably right. That sounds legit. So yeah, but Vera Rex edition is probably just going to be Kingdom Hearts Vera Rex, like straight up. In the secret ending of the most recent version of The World Ends With You, we actually see Shinjuku as well, and it just gets blown up, which is something concerning to me that I'm worried will tie into things. Also, this girl is a thing that was introduced as a hook for potentially the next Tui game that everyone wants to make, but they're keeping roadblocks on. Fandom has named her Hype-chan, and she just randomly sees the future. which, given the plot of Kingdom Hearts, is, you know, a thing.
Kickstarter.
All right, let's talk about this guy. So here's Yuzora. His name means night sky, as sort of an antithesis / match to Sora's name. He looks like Riku, but also Sora. He kind of looks like their unholy love child. He has a skull. It's a little hard to see. In that bottom screenshot, he has a skull with keyblades crossed under it. That is very similar of the Tui iconography of, like, it's the same style of, like, the Reaper skull, but with the keyblades. So, like, that's tying back, like I said, into the Tui setting, and not necessarily the Tui, like, the game itself, if that makes sense to everyone. We have the fact that his name translates to the same thing as Noctis's name, only Noctis's is in Latin. Yes.
It also, I mean, I don't know. It's a little hard to tell, especially in that shot. But it almost looks like he has a like a crude buttoned version of Sora's crown on top of the skull.
Oh yes, there is in fact a little crown, because that's drawn like out in studs, and there is a little crown on top of the skull. Yes, with Sora's crown. So we have the heterochromia with the red and the blue eye. Like, we have full nonsense going on here. I have these boys here because I feel like I'm all for theories and speculation. I really do believe that as of right now, I think once the DLC happens, this will change. We don't have enough information to truly assess Yuzora. I believe Nomura himself even said something along those lines at some point, where he was like, no, people don't have enough information to truly understand what's going on in the secret ending, not even a little bit. Many, many moons ago, back in the day of Shade of Memories, Roxas was in the secret ending, and everyone was just, who the crap is this guy? And no one got close into the amalgam of bullshit that happened in 2. And then 2 had a secret ending, and everyone was like, why is Roxas a popsicle that's taking the sea salt thing too far? And then Ven happened, and that was a whole, no one was fooled by palette swap Xemnas. We got that one, we figured that out, but this was a whole new, we still don't even know who Ven is, technically. That's how deep this one is read. So, that's, like, we know the obvious. He clearly has something to do with Sora and Riku, but we don't know what.
If he's not
and now world lines. I have here an S-script from one of the TUI secret reports, simply because it better explains how parallel worlds work. Square Enix does have a habit of, in general, with a lot of their main titles, having consistent metaphysics between them. Like, while they use different names, a lot of the metaphysics between the different Final Fantasy games technically function the same thing. Like, you have the life stream, you have the far plane, they're about doing the same stuff. World lines basically mean parallel worlds. It could be a more complicated idea of, like, a hard reboot parallel world, which, if you've seen Mirai Nikki / Future Diary, it's the idea of, like, this world was destroyed, a new one was created. It started at the point in time the last one was destroyed, but, like, all of history before that point is a lie. Tui talks about how difficult it is to travel between parallel worlds. One theory I have is actually every time Kingdom Hearts gets activated, that's a way to travel to a new world line. It is a thing that has consistently happened every time Kingdom Hearts has been activated, seems to be people traveling to new world lines. So, talking about the different world lines that we have had so far in the series, we have the original browsing version of Key and back cover. What the secret reports are explaining is that the original Keyblade War happened in World Line A. Ava, Fox Girl, got a bunch of Keyblade kids, called them the Dandelions. She sent them to World Line B so they wouldn't die. And then this world exploded. And then this happened, and we've all been hooked on an abusive gambling game.
Banners are evil.
Banners are evil. Now we have what's going on. Where does the actual Kingdom Hearts timeline as we know it from Kingdom Hearts 1 forward take place, the bulk of the games? In actuality, I believe this slide is still set up correctly, it is World Line A. They talk about how the world then, which is something that actually was cleared up quite recently in an update with Brain talking about the real Daybreak Town versus the data Daybreak Town, where the apocalypse happening is what flooded the world with darkness and why we have a lot of little worlds instead of one big world. All of the Disney worlds are basically a post-apocalyptic wasteland. It's like Adventure Time. Yay! So that's why all the worlds are separated. Yep, that is still wrong. Okay. And yes, Kingdom Hearts 4 probably is Sora in an entirely different world line.
World line FU.
World line FU, yes. Rather than in either of the ones that we have available to us. Who knows? Maybe he's at. Oh. I'm sorry. I thought this occurred to me because, like, literally, like a month ago, they introduced Wreck-It Ralph to K2X in. Yeah, you're making you know where this is going. K2X in Japan, which has every video game ever, and Baron Rex is canonically a video game in the Toy Story world. So they might actually just have hopped over to World Line B there and be stuck in. Yes.
Does this mean Sonic is canon in Kingdom Hearts now?
And yes! Unfortunately! Go! Get out! Get out! Sonic is canon in Kingdom Hearts, and you cannot ship him with Terra, you terrible Darkling. This is the only ship that we shave. Yes.
Okay, right, because the idea you just had is kind of left field, but it makes a lot of sense. So right field idea. What if Sora ended up in a world line where Keyblades just weren't a thing, and that's why the Master of Masters is stuck there.
That would make sense.
And that's why Sora needed to bring the Keyblade, because all Keyblades are based off of the Keyblade.
Yeah.
So he just introduced that world line to Keyblades by existing there, and probably just created another doomed timeline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Sora.
One thing I found interesting, one of the reasons I had the Tui quote is because in the secret reports of Tui, they specifically talk about the idea that like certain beings who might be powerful enough to jump world lines can expend so much energy they get stuck in the world line they wind up in, which I thought was very pertinent to the Master of Masters situation, so I'm bringing that up now. And that, there is one last thing. So then we have some things that don't even get addressed. And then there was darkness. To darkness. The last things that haven't been addressed, that weren't addressed in Kingdom Hearts 3 at all and are still huge loose threads, we have Luxord's wild card. Luxord, not Luxord. As I pointed out earlier, the original browser version of Key uses a card-based system. The fact that Luxord had cards was actually, like, we assumed that he had to do with the Key Kids a little time ago. Our original theory was that he was Gula, which is not the case anymore. He's just a random Key Kid. But his cards are probably a manifestation of that original battle mechanic. That is probably, like, for all we know, that could be a card with Sora on it. Like, they're just the same as the medals. They're just a card shape. That's why the medals have reverse, is because reversing a card makes more sense than a medal.
It would probably be a mimic medal though, wouldn't it?
It's your boy Vanny, or Nominee.
Or Repliku.
I was so mad when they started that imitation medal stereotyping, yes.
So if the wild card is potentially Sora, would that maybe explain why he looks a little confused and almost sad and upset to see that card? Because, I mean, he was kind of a little sad as people were fading away, but in that one frame that you captured and found...
Yeah, he looks super upset about it.
He looks almost disturbed.
Distraught.
Yeah. I don't know, what distresses Sora most in this world besides all of his loved ones dying, which already happened?
Realizing that he's really grounded, because apparently he is degenerate.
We have Soul Eater in the Gazing Eye. You can see that Soul Eater clearly, well, one has Mom's eye in it, and that's just never freaking talked about. Like, we just don't. Void here at least makes sense. That is from Kiera. Like, at least there's a connection. It's probably made of broken tower. Why does Riku have this freaking Master of Masters ass bat wing stabbing it with people?
Maybe he's descended from Ephemera.
Okay, that's interesting.
Well, but no, he got it from Ansem, and Ansem has the double-ended one. And so it's like, I don't. So it's like, where is this? The double stab. Technical terms.
And also, how about the fact that technically Soul Eater evolved into Weighted Dawn / he found the keychain to make it Weighted Dawn, but then he can still summon both separately?
Yeah, that was the thing.
Yeah, he can summon Soul Eaters separate from Weighted Dawn, even though they're supposed to be connected somehow.
So yeah, it's clearly tied to the Master of Masters, but oh yes, person in the back with your hand. Hi, sorry.
Hi, quick question.
Yes.
Do we have a mic?
Soul Eater has the gazing eye, and Riku is able to summon it still in Dream Drop District,
Mm-hmm.
and it's totally different from his Way to Dawn. Wait, how does the Way to Dawn have a gazing eye too?
That's what this slide is for, yes.
Me too. About the 727 hearts, 7 princess.
Oh, yeah, no, so yeah, other things that aren't addressed. The new 7 hearts, we go through like 3. First of all, I don't know if anyone here watches Tangled the series.
Oh, God.
Rapunzel is not pure of heart.
No.
Is not. First of all. Second of all, like, we get like half of them and then they just kind of give up, like, well, that was the thing, and they're like, I don't know, maybe Anna and Nessa will have both pure of heart. It's fine. We just don't talk about this anymore. Like, it's just totally left in the dust. It's concerning. We have Kyrie's grandma and her story. Kyrie's grandma continues to be extraordinarily suspicious because she knows all of this shit that we now know is like Xehanort information. Like, oh, I'm just here casually talking about the Keyblade War, but like all like fairy tailed up, so like it's less suspicious. Like, no, it ain't. We know what up. You're not fooling anyone with your like kind old woman face. I don't. For a while, people were expecting her to be the third of like a Xehanort Ericus trio going on because that's how Kingdom Hearts functions.
Nope, the third one was Jensen.
But we know nothing about, and she's like her telling that story keeps popping up. It's at the beginning of Key. It keeps getting repeated, so it's important. Yes.
And also with the beginning of Key with the book opening and showing her, it kind of hints or maybe theorizes just from the intro that it could potentially be Kyrie's grandma telling the story that we're playing as we play it.
Yeah.
And also double plot twist, she's Ava.
Yeah, the potential that she's Ava.
And Riku's the Master of Masters, and that's why all of his Keyblades except for Braveheart.
I don't think that one. But
what?
That would be a really weird and interesting plot twist because how else does his original Keyblade that he summoned out?
Do you see how the Master of Masters behaves? Look at that anxiety-ridden child and ask yourself, does he have the capacity to go, congratulations?
I mean, I don't know if he lost Sora and went into a depressive spiral that changed his personality.
Goes completely nutso.
It wouldn't be the first time it's happened in a Square Enix game.
Nomura has talked a little bit about the Xemnas Terra thing. He tried to just be like, oh no, it's fine. The reason Xemnas was looking for Ventus was because Keyblades and Keyblade War and Key Kids. But that doesn't change that all of this is extremely suspicious in its own right, because if it's not building up towards that, it's building up towards something. Especially the fact that like Zigbar rather, is harassing Zexion, being like, oh, you know what up with Xemnas? Xemnas has a secret. What's that secret? Tell me, child. I'm sure asking the former 8-year-old will get me my answers. I'm just a 1,000-year-old body-hopping asshole. I have to go press this tiny, tiny child for information now. I have no idea. Originally, there was a lot of evidence to the idea that Xemnas had a lot of Terra's personality still in him, or would switch back and forth. It seemed like Nomura's like, oh, well, Ansem had that. That's why Ansem is just randomly nice sometimes. And that whole scene with Riku being like, you remind me of that time I got a keyblade. And Ansem being like, oh, I can't darkness this child anymore. It's too much. It's too much. Like, his death scene was just like, I'm proud of you, son, bye. And Riku was just like, okay, bye, Dad. And I was like, wait, what?
Bye, Dad.
What? What?
Son, I'm proud of you.
Dad of the Year award.
So there's, again, long-running loose threads. Things in Kingdom Hearts 2 are still viable. Like, Kingdom Hearts 1 is the only game, in my opinion, where you can't say Nomura hadn't planned anything. Once you get to 2, Nomura had long-running plans, so any of this is still fair game for prediction-y nonsense. And on that note, yay! Questions, things, if you want to come up, you can join our Discord server by scanning that. You can get to the Sleeping Realm Theory by scanning that. Questions, yes?
Are you implying that at the time in Kingdom Hearts 1, Nomura was not planning from the left time travel?
There is a slight possibility that Nomura was not planning for time travel. I also have business cards if anyone wants to take those, which I'm going to get out now. Yeah, any other questions, thoughts, concerns, theories other people want to say? Ephemera!
So, anybody else have a concern about the supernovas? The San Francisco
And then the necklace.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Since y'all were talking about, Dave,
Yeah.
back in college, I was like,
The original version
they're
of
falling
this necklace.
together.
What?
Real exciting.
Oh, this
Oh, yeah.
jewelry. Mission. So this
I get to talk to you all the time. Marluxia, sorry.
It's fine.
How much do you think Luxord, like himself, knows like his somebody? Like, he's that wild card. Like, really like how
Yeah.
So
He gets he makes a lot of comments about like complaining about not getting left in kept in the loop. I've always been hyper suspicious of Luxord, so I feel like he knows, has like pockets of memory but doesn't know like the whole picture kind of thing. Is going to be the most likely case for him.
I think you see me as a random, but memory guardian.
If you think about the metaphysics of what the medals and the cards are, they're
everybody's kind of easy to
stated to be projections of strength from the future. You're literally borrowing strength of a hero from the future. That's what it's explained in the exposition. It's possible that someone like Luxord, who might be more attuned to that kind of stuff, was catching glimpses of the future from using those cards and things, through the book of prophecies and something like that. And that might be why he like, so it's like, I should know this, and then no one told me about this, and like I kind of knew and didn't, stuff like that.
Here's a loose thread.
So she can't do anything.
All of the people like Luxord and Marluxia and Ven are using medals and cards of themselves, so...
Yeah. Can we talk about like the Organization 13 event and Loria walking in being like, oh, this looks like an older, hotter, broader shouldered version of me in a black coat. This is probably fine. Like, what?
Why are people not more concerned?
Any other...
It's Kingdom Hearts. Everything goes over their heads. Have you seen Sora throughout this whole entire
Any other
I feel like as
questions?
is nobody,
Yes.
I should defend him.
So, I enjoy Kingdom Hearts 3, keeping that in mind when I
Yeah.
ask this. But the Sleeping Realm Theory, are we sure it's not one of those, like, secret fourth episode of Sherlock season 4 things? Like,
No, and I'm gonna be honest. There are a lot of things in the Sleeping Realm Theory I think are really strong. I think some of the conclusions they draw from their evidence isn't necessarily correct, if that makes sense. Like, I do believe at some point they somehow wound up in a sleep layer. How and why? I don't know if I agree with. Does that make sense?
yeah, because I just feel like saying the whole game took place in a sleeping world feels like it would. I don't think Kingdom World really would. It feels like it would like annoy way too many people. Like it would.
Well, so the reason why I think that that's a thing is there was a lot of talking about like the politics of behind the game and how it's made is entirely valid considering how the theories play out. And Nomura definitely like I feel like Square was afraid to do
be
anything
told
too
about
drastic.
E3 or
So they presented a game that on paper by
Which-
itself would
I
appeal
don't-
to the
I don't
care.
long-term,
He
to try to appeal
when
to
it
the
comes
long-term
out,
fans
I
and the
just need to
short-term
be
fans
told about it.
who are
If
coming
I-
in
if I don't
straight
hear
from
on-
two, if that makes sense.
about
Who
it
had
at
skipped a lot of the stuff no matter how
tomorrow
much
we
they
gonna
tried
have
to
to
catch
fight.
people up. They really did
I'm like,
it.
I'd like to say KH4 would be right.
I'm
I
like,
also like
dude, this is
3. I just think that like it was half a game. Like does that make sense?
it's
Like
not gonna be my
it's a
favorite.
2 continues, and I'm okay
Second
with
Got
that.
major flaws.
Yeah, and Chewy.
No,
I'm very
It's not
concerned.
It was.
that also
Um,
means
So I think
Noctis could be
there is
there for
probably
Final Fantasy,
some
and then
I'm
nuggets and
no,
he
hooks
says
in
he
certain
sees Rex
places
and he's just
that
like,
are
wait a minute,
indicative of
what the?
the next
Really?
couple of games are going to be
Just
a lot of
Rex
what
and
Nomura
Sam.
really wanted to do.
It's like,
what
who
they
would
couldn't
be?
do because
You're
of the
me,
hype around
but you're
the
also
title,
Riku,
if that makes
which
sense.
I don't know who
And that's why I
that
think there were
is,
certain
but you're also Sora. I don't know
inherent
who
and
the cinnamon
intentional
roll
subversions
man
of plot
is
twists
either.
just like
But
that.
like,
If that
you're
makes
all of
sense.
us together, but you
Speaking
have
of like
blue
the game that he
eyes.
wants to make,
Yeah.
how much do you think this would tie in with beer and breakfast?
I felt like he did
He
all
has
that
made
because he was
statements
butthurt
multiple
because he
times.
couldn't
He's really
finish
annoyed by that, actually. I
Final
think it's
Fantasy
funny.
15 on his own
That no, Verimax has
Yeah.
nothing to do with Final Fantasy 13 versus. That's not a thing.
Okay.
I did some research on that too. The last time I did this panel, you can watch it on our YouTube channel actually. I did a whole bunch of research on the original work on
Sometimes,
Here's their business card.
Kingdom Hearts on Final Fantasy 15 and 13 verses, and none of the plot of 13 verses was heavily changed. A lot of the gameplay mechanics were cut and were kind of Nomura being like, I wanted a cooking mini game and ran into it. That stuff did kind of show up in Kingdom Hearts 3 because it was mostly mechanical changes that were made when it became 15. But like, Noctis and Prompto were shown in really early trailers with the same names and designs and everything in 13 verses. So it's not like, oh, I never got to make 13 verses. It's just they felt it appropriate to change the name to be a proper installment to the franchise when they changed the direction with the mechanics and it became a bigger game. And when they moved to PS4 instead of PS3. So yeah.
He's like, you gave it
Other
to
things,
take it
I have
away
cards for
because
the
of my
people who
baby.
want them also. Yes.
That's what I feel like he was. Like, he doesn't have to be truly butthurt about it. But it's just like, you gave it and you take it away from me. And then everybody hates it.
Nomura's official statement on that makes me feel better about it because there were rumors going around that it had to do with like Nomura being like live Dissidia now. And he was like, there just wasn't time. It is a fact that they cut like 0.2 was supposed to be the prologue, and they had to move it out. And I respect and I'm okay with like, we just didn't have the screen time to put Cloud in. It makes me sad. I want it, and I mean, hey, they included some Final Fantasy-esque things, like having a silver-haired villain stab the pink flower girl in the back.
It's not anything against you, but I know you in real life, so it's like, oh god,
feel like Kingdom Hearts was outgrowing Final Fantasy, trying to move away from it, or is that like a mistranslation?
Kind of like it. I would call it a mistranslation. Like he knows that Final Fantasy is a part of it, and he wants the Kingdom Hearts characters to stand on their own. The idea is that
we're getting one
Kingdom
more
Hearts doesn't need to rely
installment
on Final Fantasy anymore
but we might
to
get another
fans.
redo.
Originally, that's how it drew a lot of people in, was just by making
Like-
it crossover. Now it's its own
Like
thing.
what the story so far
I
should have been,
believe that
except
he will probably,
Xehanort Saga would be the title.
in upcoming games, continue to have cameos. I mean, on the one hand, yeah, no, there were new Final Fantasy characters. On the other hand,
the North.
secret ending took
This
place in Shibuya. So, like,
steak.
give and take.
Next Kingdom Hearts in between game. Secretly just roll into Q2.
Yeah.
Is that TWO or TO?
Yes.
And the Square Enix side is our Final Fantasy side. And I always view like a lot of people characters, that's the amount.
I'm still salty about Roxas and Ben just.
For me, I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan.
Yeah.
He doesn't even like give a proper response. He's
Cover
just
to cover.
Roxas just.
Where are they?
But that's how
You got
I
your
love
Cactuar, you got your Moogles.
He don't
but
give
yeah.
shit.
Honestly,
He does give a shit. I'm sorry, he tried to kill Sora.
Yeah.
He tried to kill Sora because he's like, no.
You actually
He's having a mental breakdown, admittedly.
He's like, you're messing up my plan.
We'll probably
I
never
want to
be
eat ice
directly
cream,
addressed,
and you're fucking mad at
But you have seven pure lights in the
Ross is a petty ass bitch.
Xehanort
And he is a petty
like,
ass.
We
but
haven't
he's
actually
good boy.
tried the
There has
ice
to be
cream. It might be
original
really
flavor.
good.
It is really good. We've made
So I
sea salt
always
ice cream.
assume
It
that
is
those are the 13
delicious. That is
fantasy
actually my
villains
favorite,
in
but
the
it's
first 13
really
Final
hard to
Fantasy
make.
But also,
So pistachio
it's
ice cream.
like Ross is the saddest character.
I'm not dealing with
His
Kefka.
squad is the saddest
And like
character.
that's so like I also
Roxas
a lot
and
of my
Vanitas would get along.
headcanon more.
Yeah,
I don't care what
Involve
people
a
say.
lot of
I
like
don't
time
think that
Final
Vanitas.
Fantasy a little bit more thoroughly. So I do.
Like they would have a more mutual agreement of like, yeah, you're right.
Roxas,
This would be a-
Vanitas, Replica, Xion, just all of them would get along.
Yes,
Plain
I count
No,
Callus.
Replica's too
I
much of
count
a douche.
the way I do it
Not
is I don't
Replica,
count 11. I count
Replica.
Xehanort as
Softy.
in the 11th.
Sweet boy.
Been through
And then for the non-obvious ones,
Not
James,
too
Eleanor, and Caius.
But then we also already have Sephiroth
But
like
I'm
in the
still
game.
like-
So
Oh, God.
I feel like that would have come up if
In
that
my
had been the
way,
case.
Not
it's
necessarily.
like,
He literally does refer to himself as being pure darkness.
Free Fire over 2 days is it's
About
just like,
about that
oh,
person who
I
named
just want to
Dark.
have a normal life and
Kind
have
of
nice
reminds
friends.
me of
But
I have
Final
no idea
Fantasy
what the hell is going on.
Final
older
Fantasy
slash
III,
younger brother
where Sid
who's
Green
better at everything
was not
than
really
me,
Sid Green, he
and
just
everybody else is
amalgamated
better at everything
chaos.
than me. They don't give a crap about me.
I am
and I
just
just,
one
I
thing.
finally found.
Anime
Oh.
problem that he has.
Yeah.
He's like, I
It
finally
is a
found
very
friends that
anime
care
problem,
about
but
me.
I actually do
But my
understand
stupid
how
brother
it
is
feels.
in my way. I don't hate him.
He's
but
my
he's
boy.
just in my
I
way.
jokingly refer
Well, I
to
mean-
Returns as the game where Ansem is just
That's why I'm like, it's
because
so
like
sad.
it's metaphysics. It's
Yeah.
like all hearts return to darkness.
That's
Come
why
to darkness
when
and also what darkness
Right.
how it works and everything.
Song came out,
Oh,
swelled
that's not
up,
what I was
yes.
expecting from this game. I like it. The Lumina is basically Lightning's Heartless. That's what we're doing now.
What?
It's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Or
a
nobody,
thing.
yeah.
That's why my Unversed is named Lumina. It's because it's her emotions.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
really need a
Also check that
Kingdom Hearts
Roxas
crossover
still
event
has
after
both
14
Keyblades
already.
section,
No more
kinda
is going to be
concerning.
doing the 8-man in Shadow Raiders.
Because
It
he's
needs to happen.
Yes.
He is.
already.
But for
Because
more
you-
No, I love
Screw
seeing
you.
like not
I'm
some
taking
squad
this.
defeat Sora.
Rasmus did not take no crap. He was like, they're like, do you really need to? He was like,
I'm still depressed that time where
how
he
much
like
I've
arbitrarily
been
was like,
through.
well, I can only put
You want to
Lumina
take
in one
more
game.
from me? And
So
they're
I'm
like,
gonna put Dissidia instead of Birth by Sleep, and I was
That's
like,
your rep-
no,
Right.
He's a
he
good
did not
boy.
want one dad to
He's
counteract
a very
the bad
powerful
dads.
and strong boy who doesn't get enough credit and
he
doesn't
held
have as
down
bad
that
as a
fight.
temper.
I didn't have to do anything in that fight. He
Through that fight. He's exhausted.
I also imagine
He's
when
having a mental
the Final
breakdown.
Fantasy VII
He's
remake on the horizon.
been clearly saw
it
what
might turn to, like,
happened
invert,
with
and they'll
Axel.
start using
And
Kingdom
he's just
Hearts
like,
to hype Final Fantasy because it's
okay, right before I got shoved into this kid, I just got tormented by a wall and a bag and a waterfall and all this other bullshit.
I don't think it's at that point
No.
yet, because like
And now I have all these weird memories.
And
Yours and
games, I really don't think
the shit from the organization coming to
That's how
mind.
you gateway drug kids into Final Fantasy.
I'm just
basically.
That's how you
Yeah.
change other franchises into.
Oh,
Yeah,
wait.
it's the new audience because they went out of their way to make 3 accessible to younger kids, which is why it's weirdly easy.
Okay, do you think that there's any concerning lore implications about the fact that Roxas still has 2 Keyblades when he magically comes back? Because
I'm going to yeet Roxas.
What?
I'm going to yeet you and your dual wielding.
No.
Okay, I mean, it could tie into.
Don't eat the blood.
It
Eat
could
the
tie into
blood.
it could tie into how he was created more than anything else.
Yeet him.
So like,
Yeet him.
eat him to me.
oh wait, no, because he got the second Keyblade from Xion, so.
You actually yeeted him! Go get him!
I'll go get myself.
Off the floor.
Second or third row
I was
from the back.
going to say because
You
but then I
yeeted
remember he got
yourself!
the second Keyblade from Xion technically, so it's like, yeah, that makes no sense.
Actually, Xion
But-
actually have half of Roxas' powers. Took it back.
Oh, yes. Cards for everyone.
Which then makes it even
Well,
more
feel
concerning
free to
because
come
Xion
talk
has
to
her
our
own
Discord channel.
power.
We have like several channels
And, like-
dedicated to just talking about theories and speculation and stuff.
Follow us on Twitter.
Yes,
and
follow us on Twitter.
Tumblr.
That's our beautiful Xion. They manage
I
all
run
the social
all the
media.
social media.
They're a good person because I'm really awkward on the internet, so I'm usually only on the Discord. Yay.
This one is responsible
Unless I'm
for
posting
your-
like terrible update art of the stupid Rapunzel cartoon because everything was terrible.
Well, Is the card? I thought Rapunzel.
Oh no, I mean it's a really, really good
It's
cartoon.
wonderful.
It's amazing.
But
Just terrible things are happening.
Disney's
So
recent
good.
shows are
All
really
I've seen
fucking
is
dark.
one song where they're like singing about being ready or something, and that's all I've seen of the cartoon.
Basically, the season finale of season 2 just went from like, this is a happy Disney show to like, here's your Kingdom Hearts trio, here's a song about how we know how that ends and everyone is going to be miserable, and then by the end of the episode, everything was sad.
Okay, well
So that's why you meant, that's what you meant by Rapunzel's not pure.
Oh no, there's
Rapunzel is not
there's
pure.
Rapunzel is a level 99 necromancer and has more darkness than Xehanort.
Okay, but that's like later on. Like in the events of the game, she's still
Yeah.
pure, but-
Yeah, that's the game. She's still sunshine.
Actually, not necessarily because of how the sun drop works, but that's splitting
true.
hairs over obscure things.
Square Enix didn't have that information at the
Have you
time.
finished Sophia yet?
No.
Because the sun drop was referenced as a bad object. It was referenced as a bad object.
Okay, we gotta get out.
We gotta get out.
We're getting kicked out.
Am I good?
Thank you guys. Follow us on the internet.
Yeah,
talk
5
to us
seconds.
more. Well, there's a 30-minute changeover time, so we have time to break down.
Yeah.
But,
Am I good to cut it?
yes.
Okay.
Zemnis wants you for Seekers of Dorkness. Subscribe now and become a vessel today.